Today I am breaking down for you in the most logical and clear but detailed way possible the scientific way of manifesting. And I wanted to make this video today because someone in my last video commented on how I often remind you guys that manifestation is a science, and therefore I want you to be more objective about it and less emotional about it. And they asked me to kind of go into more detail of so what is the scientific method of manifesting? Well, today we are going to give you that in-depth overview. So in this video, you will have all the tools you need to check yourself and see where you are on the different scales I'm going to show you, to see scientifically, objectively, to look at yourself and see, okay, am I in the right column when it comes to my manifestations? And you'll understand more about what I'm talking about as we get into the video, because I got a whiteboard, I got dry erase markers, I got wet hair. As you can see, it's kind of late and there's a blizzard outside, and I was just I just have that energy where I just wanted to sit down and film this. I couldn't wait for my hair to dry. So we're just jumping right into it. So let's get into it. But before we get deeper into the topic, I will introduce myself to any of you who might not know me yet. My name is Genevieve. I'm a manifestation coach. And on this channel, I try to go really in depth, give you a lot of detail on the manifestation process. I also try to include sometimes examples or just talk about things that maybe you don't often hear talked about in the way that I do in the manifestation world, and that can help you to be more well-rounded and to see things differently, more clearly, more objectively, all that fun stuff. So if you like my style of coaching, there's lots of ways you can work with me. I've got courses down below. The courses are awesome, and you could start them right now, and every day I send you an email with more lessons and more homework, or you can do a call with me if you want to talk to me personally and give me some of your circumstances so I can help you to kind of work around you and your stuff personally. There's also a membership portion of this channel where there's exclusive content. So check all of that out. Also, I always forget to say to please like this video if you get something out of it. And of course, always subscribe. I always forget to say that typical YouTuber-y stuff. So do that if you can. All right, now let's get into this. What is manifestation really all about? How do we do it? What is the science of manifestation? So first of all, I want to remind you that most of us, if not all of us, we got into manifestation because we were already in a state of lacking, usually something external. We're noticing, oh my gosh, my life sucks. I don't have the relationship I want. I don't have the money I want. I don't have the body I want. I don't have the success I want, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's this thing called manifestation that I can use to manipulate 3D reality and give me all those things that I want. Oh my gosh, of course I want to do that. Let's go all in and do it. But we start the process of manifestation and then we learn that it was never about the stuff that we were obsessed with. It was never about the person that we wanted that relationship with. It was never about the money. It was never about the success. It was never ever about the 3D validation. And when you really start to turn towards self and you start to embody, okay, this is all about me. This is about my relationship with myself. This is about my relationship with me, knowing that I am divine. And the external stuff is just like a fun, cool thing that's like an after effect of all of that. It is not the primary goal that I thought it was when I first came into this, because I guarantee when you first came into this, the reason that you didn't have the relationship you wanted or the money or whatever the heck it is because your relationship with yourself at that time was not good. You didn't have that God self-confidence in yourself. You were dependent on the 3D reality. And as you're learning to be a good manifester now, you're realizing, okay, I have to let go of my dependency on the 3D. I have to turn more towards my authentic relationship with myself. Manifesting, ironically, has never really been about making the 3D do something for you. And the people who keep trying to make it about, it's just about the 3D and I just want that and I don't give a shit about myself, the people who are doing that, they tend to continue to suffer. Sometimes they do see short-term results, but because they are never really stepping into true power that the 3D reality is the land of shadows. True power is seeing that everything has always been within you. Nothing has been kept from you outside of you. And the way that you see it reflected back to you is that you realize, oh my God, everything has always been within me all of this time. And the 3D is only this like after reflection thing, which is cool. Again, it's like an after effect byproduct of me genuinely changing my relationship to myself. So the first thing I want to show you is a fun drawing I made. You can tell I am obviously an artist with my stick figure guy here. I'm obviously really high tech here as well, that like I'm just gonna do this as opposed to do any sort of like editing for this. So I hope you enjoy this. But this is a representation of where you really should be as a manifestor. This person is really seeing themselves in their own fulfillment with God or the divine. And that's interchangeable. If you don't like the word God, that's why I wrote divine down there. It's all the same thing, but they are really self-sustained within their own connection with their own divinity, with their own God self. They feel so self-reliant, not in a 3D way self-reliant, but self-reliant in more of a divine God way. And I hope that that differentiation makes sense, because self-reliance in a 3D way is very ego. This kind of self-reliance is more of a surrendered, divine, almost like a humble kind of power. It's a very interesting thing, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So this person is an amazing manifestor. They have themselves on the pedestal. They see themselves, you know, within their self-sustained connection with their God selves. And then from them springs the stuff that they are manifesting. From them springs their amazing romantic relationship. From them springs money. From them springs success. From them springs positive 3D experiences and positive 3D emotions. It comes from them not because they're grasping for them desperately, but because they are in this state of surrender, detachment, and havingness. Those are the 3 scientific things we're gonna get to next that are like the things you need for everything you're manifesting. Do you have havingness about that thing? Do you have surrender about that thing? And do you have detachment about that thing? But we'll get to that more in a bit. But obviously, before we move on, I have to show you the opposite of the person who is a very successful manifestor. This person still thinks that God, and I put God in quotations, that God is 3D stuff. God is their SP or their love relationship. God is money. God is positive 3D stuff and success. They still feel like I'll be close to God, I'll be close to fulfillment once I get these things. So I'm really attached to these things. I'm very controlling about these things. I feel like I need these things, and I can't even imagine ever being happy if I don't get my SP or I don't get the success I want or blah, blah, blah. This person doesn't actually have a strong relationship with themselves, so they're still deferring their fulfillment. They're still projecting fulfillment and God and everything they think they want that's not within them. They're projecting it onto their relationship or their money, whatever it is, doesn't matter. That person isn't manifesting it yet because they still are giving their power away, their God-given power away to that thing. They're still projecting, I'm powerless. I only have power once maybe that thing works out for me. Obviously, that does not work. As Neville Goddard says, and I say this in lots of different videos, we are not meant to worship our creations. We should never worship our creations. We are meant to worship the Creator. And you and your divine connection, your divine, everlasting, eternal connection to God is the only thing to worship. And the deeper you do that, the deeper you seek the kingdom within, as they say in the Christian Bible, the more you go within and you tap into that power of like, I am already, simply because I say I am. I am because I am. And that I am connection that you tap into within is so strong that you don't even need the 3D to prove it to you. You're not looking to the 3D to be like, okay, well, I said I am, so like do it so that I can really have it. Like, cause that's what a lot of you are doing. So let's get to the 3 things that I said that you need to have to make this happen. And that is havingness, surrender, and detachment. And each of these things are a scale, and I have more whiteboard drawings to show you to illustrate this. So here we go. Okay, here we go. These are the 3 qualities, and remember, each one is a scale that you need to be knowing about, focusing on, asking yourself where you're at when it comes to your manifestation. And obviously the first one is the having. So the scale here, as you can see, is you've got it, And then there's this scale over to not having. And this is about the wish fulfilled. This is what most people, when it comes to manifestation, most people are just focusing on the wish fulfilled. They're just telling you, hammer away the wish fulfilled, just visualize, just affirm, hammer away on the wish fulfilled, live in the end. That's all you have to do. That's what the majority of people, at least from what I hear, that's what most people are focusing on, just living in the end. And obviously, living in the end, being in the havingness of it, is important. That's why it is the first of the 3 scales here that we've got to be having. You do need to have that. But what I've found is that most people are pretty good at practicing living in the end. That's the thing. That's not the difficult piece. What is difficult are these other 2 things here. So the next one down here, I could have put surrender and detachment as one thing. And sometimes when I speak about surrender and detachment, I do almost speak about them like synonymously. But for this video, it felt really important to get really nuanced and break it down very, very specifically. So surrender gets its own scale. And I put surrendered and faith-filled. And the other side of this is controlling and fear-filled. And this is mostly about the 3D, although these 2 things can be correlated. As you can see, the next one is about detachment and having an autonomous identity. Obviously, the opposite of detachment is attachment and dependency, being dependent. This tends to be mostly about emotions, but obviously the 3D and your emotions, they tend to go hand in hand. So obviously surrender and detachment are often going hand in hand as well. But again, we're breaking it down in a very clear way so that you can understand this. So when it comes to your manifestation, can you really be honest with yourself about how surrendered and faith-filled are you about it? And remember, if this is mostly about the 3D, what this means is, can you just go about your current 3D life and really just be relaxed about it? You're really not worried if something confusing happens or something unexpected happens. Are you extremely triggered and controlling and fear reactive? Or are you just kind of able to just allow it to roll off your back and stay in that kind of faith, that surrender of like, yep, I've got no idea how the 3D is going to pan out. The 3D is going to do whatever it's going to do, but I am so surrendered. I am so faith-filled. I am just in my power so much that I can just move with the waves of the 3D. I'm not really judging it. I know that everything's a bridge. Even the really weird stuff, even the bad stuff is actually a bridge. And so you're just living dominantly in this surrender. So on this scale of either being super surrendered and faith-filled or super controlling and fear-filled, where are you at right now with your important manifestations? And then the same thing down here for detachment and having an autonomous identity. This one right here that I said is mostly about your emotions, this is the one that affects most people when it comes to manifesting an SP, but it can affect you for anything that's really, really important to you where you feel like you're dependent on it. When you feel like you're dependent on something, this could also be money, this could also be health, and I'll talk more about that because people are like, well, logically, of course I'm dependent on money and health, but I'm going to try to break that down in a little bit. But anything that you feel dependent upon, you are powerless over. If your identity is not autonomous from this person, place, or thing that you are manifesting, that is a huge block because you're saying, I have no power. I'm so dependent on this person giving me the love that I crave from them. You just have no power. So even if you have great wish fulfilled practice, even if in the 3D you are pretty surrendered, if you're extremely dependent on this person, place, or thing still, it is a huge block. And again, this is what I see with most people who are manifesting a specific person is they are not autonomous. They feel like they are dependent, that if they don't get this person to give them attention, that they will have a shitty life, that nothing's going to work out from them. They'll be unhappy forever. And this is a huge self-concept issue. This is also why this is kind of easy to practice. The havingness, the wish fulfilled is easy to practice because it's not really about your identity so much. It's just about, oh yeah, just practicing the wish fulfilled. That's fun. But these two things, but especially this one, is about your relationship with yourself. It's not so much about the wish fulfilled. It's about genuinely, are you independent? Are you sovereign in your divinity? Or are you acting like you are dependent? Like the stick figure I showed you in the beginning of this video, are you the second stick figure that feels like I'm dependent? God and power and happiness, it only lives with that person. It only lives with that thing that I'm trying to get. Because if your self-concept is not independent, if it's still there, it's a huge problem. And for most people, it is the only reason why the wish fulfilled hasn't come into the 3D. It's not because you're bad at affirming. It's not because you're bad at doing techniques. It's because scientifically, you are still operating from a self-concept, from an identity that's too attached and dependent upon this person, place, or thing that you are manifesting. And again, these two tend to go hand in hand, but I hope that you can see the nuance between these two, that surrender is very much about surrendering to the process, where it's just sort of like, yep, I don't really care about time. I don't care about the 3D. I don't really care about circumstances. I'm just going to go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. And I don't need to control it. I don't need to freak out about it. I'm just like, I just am so surrendered. I'm just in the flow of life and I'm just in the moment. I'm enjoying it. That's surrender. Although I'll say as a caveat to that, it's not that you need to always enjoy life. Surrender isn't always about perfectly enjoying. Surrender is about faith. It's about, like, even if something bad does happen temporarily, or you're not enjoying something in the 3D temporarily, you're not completely abandoning yourself over that trigger that happened to the 3D. Surrender is about still accepting that, yep, even though this weird thing just happened, I'm still moving ahead. I'm still just going with the flow, just riding the wave, and I'm just going to stay surrendered. Detachment, again, is about your identity. It's about your emotions in terms of, like, are you emotionally dependent upon this thing happening or not happening? If you feel like I can't handle it, the idea of this not happening, I emotionally can't handle it. I cannot handle, I will not accept, I am in resistance. This is all about resistance down here. If it feels like you cannot deal with, you're saying to yourself, I cannot deal with the not having of it, then you're in all that attachment and dependency, and that is probably the reason why this hasn't worked out for you yet. This one is the biggest paradox that people sometimes get the most confused about. Or maybe not confused, but the most, like, conflicted about, because your ego will trick you and think that your attachment is, like, helping, where it's like, yeah, if you just obsess more, if you just, like, really glob on and just hold on to it so tightly, if you hold on so tightly and you just never accept failure, you're gonna really do it. You're gonna really do it. But there's such a weird paradox with manifesting and this divinity thing, where the more you are surrendered, the more you are independent, the more that your identity is not contingent upon the receiving of this thing. The paradox that can take your ego some time to get used to is that you're much more likely to get that thing, to see it reflected to you. The less you need it, the more likely it is to be proven to you. But needing it and that dependency is absolutely just not having it. As you know, if you feel like you need it, well then obviously you don't have it. Because if you easily just accepted that it's true about you no matter what you see or don't see in the 3D, the need just sort of, like, goes away because you don't need something you've already got. So the last thing I wanted to do with this before I finally put this down, hopefully you're not super annoyed by me holding this up, but this is just how we're rolling today, so it's okay. But I wanted to do kind of like a profile in terms of, like, so you can understand, like, if I were you watching this and I was looking at these and I was gonna rate myself, and this is just a random profile. I'm just going to do a common profile of, like, I'm manifesting an SP and I'm going to, like, rate myself as to, like, where on the scale am I on each of these things. And in this example, in this profile that I'm going to give, let's say that, yep, I am really good at practicing the wish fulfilled. I do my SP affirmations every day. I do a meditation every day. I love it. I enjoy it. I feel the love between me and my SP. I'm in a lot of havingness. I'm not over here feeling like everything between me and my SP is horrible and it will never get better. Instead, I'm over here, like, I really do feel the love. I feel the connection. I feel the ease between the two of us when I feel into that person internally. So my havingness, I've got an A+. I'm good at the wish fulfilled. Surrender, let's see. Okay, well, I'm definitely less triggered about the 3D. I've gotten a lot better at quote unquote ignoring the 3D, and all that means is not being so reactive to the 3D. So I would rate myself as being kind of in the middle here, where yeah, sometimes things still bother me. Sometimes I feel fear about the 3D still, but I've gotten better at having more faith. So I'm like in the middle here. But then the last one is I am completely unwilling to accept that I'll ever be happy if my SP doesn't come back into my life. So I'm extremely detached, and I'm sorry to laugh, but that's just what's coming to me right now. This is super, super common. This profile that I'm giving you right now, this is what I see in a lot of people, where again, having this is good, surrender's kind of getting better, but then dependency is still, I'm very dependent. Like the thought of them never speaking to me again, the thought of them potentially never choosing me, I literally can't handle it. It like freaks me out so much. I can't even date other people. I can't even be attracted to other people. I'm just full on, completely devoted, obsessed, completely dependent upon this person. So my dependency is extremely high. So this person, this profile that I just gave you, they need to work 100% on their self-concept. They need to work on their identity, their romantic self-concept in particular, but they need to become independent from this person. And again, it's not because they can't have that person. It's because I want you to have that person. And the only way this person is going to have room to come in is for you to take away that fearful attachment and dependency, that fear that's like, I can't handle if they don't choose me, or I can't handle if they never talk to me again. I can't handle that. I would suffer for my whole life. I would never be happy. I would just have the worst, loneliest, most failure of a life if they never came back in and chose me. Again, that is the biggest issue that affects most people when it comes to an SP, but it also can happen when it comes to things like money and health. Anything that feels like you have this perception that's like, if I don't get that, then it's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad if it doesn't work out for me. Anything where that fearful attachment and dependency gets triggered with you internally, because remember, this is all about internal energy, internal reactions. It's not about the logic of, oh, it's so logical that you need money, or, oh, it's so logical that you need your health. I get it. In the 3D, it's very logical that you need money. I get that, but we can't stay in 3D logic land and figure this out. We have to go in, okay, I get that it's logical that I need money to live, but what is going on in here? Can I help to neutralize the fear I have about not having it? Can I start to relate to the energy of money within me like it's easy to have? Get into the wish fulfilled. So I guess now we're doing another profile, because this is probably helpful to do. This one is about manifesting money. And let's say that this person, they are poor. They are in survival mode. They are not doing well. So they're trying to practice the wish fulfilled, but it's hard because they're very, like, all of these are so intertwined when it comes to money. The 3D is always in their face. They always feel like the 3D is controlling them. They are in a lot of fear. They're practicing the wish fulfilled. Maybe they're like halfway there, where they can practice the wish fulfilled. They can sometimes tap into that feeling of abundance, of money coming to them, of financial security coming to them, and they're like halfway there. But when it comes to the 3D and they're constantly noticing that the money's still not here, circumstances are terrible, they're really not surrendered. They're really in that like control, that fear-based control of like, I've just got to control this. And they're not in that sense of surrender and faith. And then let's say for this last one, your identity probably is, maybe in this profile, I'll say, pretty autonomous from money. This person in my made up profile, they only feel like they need money because it's a 3D thing. Their emotions don't feel quite as dependent upon it, but it's like very, very 3D, the way they're relating to it. So we'll say that this one's also halfway, where your emotions are obviously still triggered about it, but your attachment and dependency is more of a 3D thing. So it's more up here than it is here. So we're like halfway, and then here, it's really not good. So for that person who fits that money profile, what I would say to them is that they really need to work on their resistance to the 3D, that surrender piece, because surrender, that column is really about resistance. So that also means being less resistant to maybe doing whatever you need to do in the current 3D without judging it. Because especially when it comes to money, a lot of people are manifesting in this way of like, how do I put it? It's like they're resisting all kinds of different ways that money could be coming to them, because they have it fixed in their mind that it can only come like this one or two way. Like, oh, it'll only come if I win the lottery, or it'll only come if I get this one job that I think would be really cool for me. And it's like they get very stuck in their heads that money can come from lots of different places, and that sometimes it's okay to have to just do 3D stuff, like take a kind of a random in-between job that's obviously not your dream job, but it's a part of the bridge. It's a stepping stone that's gonna get some more money in. Maybe in that job you meet somebody else that then does take you to your dream job. Like being open and very non-resistant, surrendered to your current 3D and not judging it so much. Because people, again, who tend to be not very surrendered, they're in control and fear. They tend to be very judgmental about the current 3D and have a very fixed idea of how it should be. And whenever things aren't the way that it should be, they get very triggered by that. They're not open to like all of the mystery and all of the weird things that might have to happen on the bridge to get you to that final manifestation. And again, this applies to everything you're manifesting, not just the example of money that I just went into. So again, scientifically, these are the 3 pillars, and according to Genevieve, that you need to manifest. If you can really get on this side of the scale for all 3 of these areas, your manifestation is so enjoyable, probably coming to you quickly in the 3D, and easy. But I want to put the most emphasis on enjoyable, because also when it comes to manifesting, remember what I was saying at the beginning of this video, that when we came into this, a lot of us thought it was about the external, where it's about, oh, when I get that person, when I get that thing, when I get blah, 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 that's when it's like, boom, happiness, joy, confidence, all that, it's going to come to me once I get it. But the huge thing we're learning is that happiness, joy, fulfillment, confidence, whatever, never comes from those things. It never does. It comes from the internal relationship that we are maintaining, that we are protecting, that we are harvesting within ourselves. So the thing I want to emphasize is that your enjoyment of yourself, your care, your self-parenting of yourself is the thing that should be your focus. You are actually learning as a manifestor to take your focus off the 3D. You're becoming more healthfully, internally aware, and you're taking your focus off the 3D. You're shifting from a paradigm that used to be very externally based, where you were obsessed with trying to make everything happen out here, and you're realizing all of this stuff doesn't matter. You don't need to be fighting it anymore, don't need to be resisting it anymore, don't need to be trying to control it anymore. I'm going to come so within and treat myself so well with the best self-talk, with allowing myself to internally know that it's more than possible that I can have everything that I want. I'm going to stop resisting myself. I'm going to celebrate all my emotions, because another thing that I can't even get to in this video because it's like a whole nother topic in itself, but it's the topic of dealing with your emotions. Like when you have emotions, like the negative ones especially, that you've taught yourself to repress and suppress your whole life, when those come up, do you allow yourself to simply process them and hold them like you deserve to? Like it's safe for you to be scared sometimes. It's safe for you to be sad sometimes. It's safe for you to express your grief and all that pent up stuff that caused your old self-concept to keep festering. Can you let yourself express those old emotions in a different way so they're no longer fueling the old story, the old self-concept stuff? Can you really put yourself first in such a powerful way that you're putting your real self-care first so strongly before any of these things? You're putting your self-love, self-care, self-trust first before your SP. You're putting your self-love, self-trust, self-care, blah, 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 all that stuff before every external thing. You're making your consciousness the priority. The way we manifest is by directing our consciousness in the most loving way possible we can in each moment after moment after moment. And the fun byproduct of that, again, is that the external reality will almost instantly change to match our authentic energy. This is also why I put a lot of emphasis on words like genuine and authentic shifts, because if you are doing this as sort of like go through the motions, like, oh yeah, just affirm and just pretend that I'm detached, and still nothing happens, it's because you haven't genuinely, authentically really changed. You're still trying to do something because you're like, oh, if I detach, I'll get my person. You're still trying to do something to get something, as opposed to being genuinely like, you know what? I am truly putting myself first before this specific person. I'm truly taking them off the pedestal, even if they never prove to me that they love me and that they want a relationship with me, I am putting myself first so much that I kind of don't even care if they prove to me their love. Believe me, when you as an SP manifester step into that, that's when that SP feels that so strongly and they finally are able to embody the wish fulfilled that you've been practicing for so long. Because also remember, the wish fulfilled is timeless. It doesn't go away just because you've stopped focusing on it. All of the energy, all of the affirming, all of the meditating, all of the visualizing that you have done on that is still timeless. It's still out here, wherever this is, in like the spaceless God space. And it's just waiting to come into the physical the moment you get out of your own dependency, get out of your own fear. And then that's when the conformity of, of the wish fulfilled can come in, because you are no longer blocking it with your old self that's dependent on them. So that's why I'm saying, if you just take your focus off of that and know that the wish fulfilled that you did all that work on, still up there, still doing its thing, you just need to focus on, okay, now I need to be independent. I need to be autonomous from this person. I need to know that no matter what happens, I am gonna be good. I am truly gonna have an amazing life, even if this person never showed up for me. That is key for so many of you, again, especially if you're manifesting an SP, which I know a lot of you are, but again, that applies to everything that you're manifesting, that you're putting on a pedestal. Okay, this video got long, which I wondered if that would happen, so I'm going to wrap this up here. But I know this was helpful to you guys. I would encourage you to, if you need to go back and like pause and like draw this yourself so that you have your own like scale to look at and reference, and like so you can like look at it and like see, okay, right now I'm triggered in that I'm not surrendered. I'm back in being fearful about the 3D. Okay, because that can help you to get more objective. This is what I mean about being like, to get space from yourself and start observing yourself and seeing, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm getting back into a lot of attachment, way too attached, way too dependent, feeling like I'm not going to be okay without this person. I've got to work on that. I've got to work on my independence and my self-concept, my sovereignty and my self-concept. I've got to take that thing, that person, that thing off the pedestal. So like, having this written down somewhere so that you can see it. So if you need to rewind or whatever, go back and pause and then write that yourself. I encourage you to do that. And in the comments, let me know what other questions you have, what other thoughts this has brought up for you, if things are clicking for you or not, or is there still something you're like totally confused about, let me know. Or if you just have another idea for another topic you would like me to cover in the future. I've been really enjoying reading your comments and seeing, yeah, the things that you want to hear me talk more about. It's giving me the inspiration to go deeper into some of this. So let me know your thoughts and questions, and I will talk to you again soon in the next video. All right, bye.